we're talking about Katie Gallagher, here's another thing she doesn't want to talk about, and that's cuts to the public service.
Yeah, the Finance Minister has told government departments they need to find budget savings of up to 5%, but she insisted this morning this was not a precursor to job cuts.
Well, if you're asking me if that 5% is going to, exercise that we're doing is going to result in job losses, I can say that is not what this exercise is about. Broadly, across the APS, I would expect the APS to remain largely the same.
Well, it hasn't remained largely the same under Labor. It's actually grown significantly, right?
Yeah.
So you employ more people and then you go to the more people and say, oh, by the way, can you find a 5% cut here somewhere? You can imagine they'd be looking around saying, well, I don't know, we've got more people to service, we've got more salaries to pay. Where do we find the 5%? Perhaps if they didn't employ so many more people, they wouldn't now have to be cutting 5% out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And the funniest part about all this, Catherine called you James. I'm just used to saying James. It rolls off the tongue. So, Caleb, earlier this week, you recall there was this report, I think it was in the Financial Review, that the government was going to go on an austerity drive. That's what they're calling it. An austerity. They've changed it. Positive austerity drive, right? So they realised, you know what, we've spent too much of your money, but we're going to call it an austerity drive. We're going to cut back the public service. But never mind, that's what Peter Dutton, of course, did. That was a policy they put forward to at the election, and he was labelled Donald Trump 2.0. Now you've got Senator Gallagher coming out today going, no, absolutely no cuts to the public service, despite the fact that 40,000 extra public servants have been hired since 2020. And by the way, there was an article on Friday which said that only a third of the public servants actually turn up to the office five days a week.
Oh,
so where is all this government spending going, and the public service is just ballooning by the day?
Indeed. And if you look at it, I've gone through, look, I'm a boring person sometimes, so I look at these things. But if you go through and calculate the spending in the federal budget per head of population in real terms, so account for all the inflation and whatever. I mean, but every budget under this government has, in real terms, increased the spending per head of population. So they can't, I mean, austerity, come on.
Austerity.
No one seriously talked about austerity since Abbott and Hockey tried it on in 2014 and got slammed by the public for doing so. Everyone's too afraid to cut anything since then.
Yeah, well, otherwise you get labelled Donald Trump 2.0, as Peter Dutton discovered. Let's get more on this now. Joining us is Nationals MP Michael McCormack. Michael, welcome back to the show. Thanks for joining us. So we've got Labor's spending hitting record levels. Katie Gallagher claims no, there's not going to be no cuts to the public service, despite the fact that the service has ballooned by 40,000 since 2022. How else is it going to find savings then?
Oh, precisely. It's like the arsonist setting fire to something and then wanting to take credit for trying to help to put it out. And this blaze is out of control. Spending is out of control. That's why inflation is so high. But they're not spending in the right areas. What they're doing, certainly for regional Australia, is diddly squat. There's no regional funding for roads. Our roads are appalling. There's no new funding for mobile phone connectivity. And yet here's Labor wanting to take credit for something that they themselves started. They put in thousands upon thousands of additional public servants. They then ran a scare campaign prior to the election saying that Peter Dutton was going to slash the public service. But what we've seen is a complete blowout of expenses, simply not good enough. Typical Labor.
Speaking of blowouts, Michael, look, I could talk about this topic all night, but we're on a tight schedule tonight. But on the topic of blowouts, of course, you had a blowout in the Nationals Party this week, Barnaby Joyce, and your leader, David Littleproud, told the ABC this morning that his door is open to Barnaby. It's always open to Barnaby, despite, of course, the now former National citing a breakdown in relations with Littleproud as a reason for his resignation. Take a listen.
Barnaby hasn't joined One Nation, but he's made a significant step, and my door's always open, phone's always on. I have no animosity towards Barnaby Joyce. I never have.
What do you make of all of this? Did Barnaby make the right decision by leaving the Nationals Party? Because, of course, what he talked about this week that they want generational change, and Peter Dutton allegedly told him to leave the coalition twice. It sounds like your party wants to move on from Barnaby Joyce.
Well, I don't want to move on from Barnaby Joyce. I think Barnaby Joyce has been very good for the National Party and very good for regional Australia per se. And I think it'd be good if the leader, David Littleproud, made a trek to Dangulmar this summer. We've got a couple of months and try and talk Barnaby into rejoining the party as such. David's right. His door is always open, but I'd like him to pick up the phone and make sure that Barnaby does still feel welcome. I'd also like to ensure that Barnaby doesn't go and join potentially One Nation, because his home, his natural home, is with the National Party. And we very much respect the job that he's done for us, for regional people. The Regional Investment Corporation at Orange would not have been possible without Barnaby Joyce, and he's done so much in so many areas of endeavour to better the lives of regional Australians. And we need strong and strident voices for country people, because they're being downtrodden at the moment by this Labor government. Whether it comes to the Murray-Darling water situation, whether it comes to regional infrastructure spending, there are so many areas. Even the environmental laws passed through the Parliament on Friday. Terrible for farmers, terrible for manufacturing, terrible for Made in Australia. And Barnaby Joyce will always be somebody who the nation will listen to when he speaks on subjects such as this.
So did the leadership of your party do enough to make Barnaby feel welcome? Because the evidence would seem to be to the contrary.
Well, David did say that he gave Barnaby the space that Barnaby himself requested, but whether enough was done, I don't know. I mean, lines of communication need to be always two-way. When I was the leader, even though I appreciate that there were forces within who were perhaps undermining, still picked up the phone, still made sure that my colleagues knew that I was interested in them, interested in what they were doing in their electorates, and interested in what their electorates were telling them that we need to do in Canberra. That's the job of the leader. Whether or not that was done enough, well, that remains to be seen. Barnaby doesn't think so, but we've got a couple of months now to reconsider all of these things. And I do hope that Barnaby gets a break, and as we all do, and come back in February. There's still, while there's life, there's hope, and I'd like to think that Barnaby may well rejoin the party. Let's see what happens.
Well, look, I guess, yeah, well, it remains to be seen what happens there, but he sounded pretty adamant in his decision to resign the other day. Michael, before we let you go, Anthony Albanese got married yesterday to Jodie Hayden at the Lodge. I mean, organising a wedding.
Can't believe I wasn't invited to it.
I know, I'm shocked you weren't either. Where were you? Where was your invite?
I would have been a ring bearer.
I mean, you would have been the perfect ring bearer going down the aisle at the Lodge. And look, I've got to say, organising a wedding is a big deal ordinarily, let alone, of course, when you're in the public eye. So I'm sure you would wish them all the best.
Great. They look happy. Yeah, look, they look great. They looked happy. They're very much in love. There's nothing better than young love. And what I would say here is a
young love, Michael.
Well, here you go. Here's a plug to the media. Now, they knew that they were getting married, and I found out that they were getting married some hours earlier, and yet they actually very much kept to and stuck to the 5:30 embargo. And I say good on the media, because, you know, the Prime Minister only mentioned this week how, you know, there had been security concerns over his electorate office and himself, and this isn't the Australia we should have. But the media very much stuck to the embargo. Good on them for doing it. The photos and images look great, and good luck to them. I did send him a text and wished him all the very best from Catherine and I. I think it's great. Good on him. He's the first Prime Minister to get married in office, and certainly at the Lodge. So good luck to them both for a future of good health, happiness and love.
Oh, well, I think that was perfectly put, even though you didn't get an invitation, Michael. See, we can all be good about it in the end, can't we? Exactly. Michael McCormack, good to see you. Thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, look, I think you could say young love, maybe about Jodie, but
maybe not
Albo, I'm sure the Prime Minister will be glad to hear that Michael McCormack says he is young, a young man.
Exactly.